I'll keep it quick.
Yeah.
I'll keep it quick and succinct for you.
Yes, ma'am.
So here is what I have to say. I think that people clutched on to their YT fragility. I think to see a highly educated Black woman was really challenging. And we see that with the rhetoric in terms of she's word salad, she's not educated, all of that is really just designed to denigrate Black women, especially highly educated Black women. And I just think it really comes out of that unconscious bias and confirmation bias. I think a lot of YT people, for whatever reason, they just refuse to see that racism exists, that misogyny exists, and they want to clutch onto that emotional comfort. And unfortunately is going to be their downfall, I believe. So that's all I have to say.
Well, I will say that, look, it's always always looking for other excuses as well, that it's something other than what it is. Most times, the most obvious answer is the correct answer. And yes, you are right in that. That was a big part of it. I don't believe it was all of it, but we live in a very racist and sexist society. That's God's honest truth, okay?
Yeah.
And I also think there's an issue with the way, like, liberals feel free to just demonize white people in general, right? Like, it turns people off. And if they're constantly told over and over again that they're the enemy, they're everything that's wrong with this country, every bad thing that's happened here is because of, the white European settlers and the white people who are here. Like, if one party is telling them they're the bad guys and they're not wanted and they're the root of every problem in the country, do you think that part of the electorate's gonna vote for you?
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, I gotta tell you guys, the left, the Democrat Party, they're showing us that they have not changed, okay? They're still the party of hate and bigotry. They're still the party of racism. They're still the party of hating people based off their race, okay? And that's exactly what is happening following Kamala Harris losing to Trump, okay? Democrats are running to the media, boo-hoo, why did cry racism, okay? There's a full-blown meltdown in the liberal media where you have liberals essentially attacking everybody who is responsible for helping Trump win, okay, in their minds, right? And instead of just reflecting and really having an honest conversation with themselves in regards to why they lost, okay, no, they're not going to do that. They're going to double and triple down and live in delusion, pretending as if Kamala Harris was the perfect candidate, right? She ran the perfect campaign, and it's not her fault that she lost, although she couldn't articulate what is different about her and Joe Biden, the most unpopular administration in American history, right? No, she can't articulate that, but that's not her fault. No, it's the fault of the voters, right? It's their fault because they're racist, which is essentially the argument that Maxine Waters went on multiple outlets and made, including Chris Cuomo's show, in which Chris Cuomo rejected her argument that Kamala Harris lost just because of racism. Take a look.
But the fact of the matter is the majority of his votes are going to come from whites. And that's who has been talking to all campaign about taking the country back. Taking it back from whom? Taking it back from too many minorities who are doing too well, who are succeeding, who are closing the wealth gap. And something has to be done in his estimation. And so that's what it's really all about. It's not about the economy and all that, people would like to basically hide behind. It's about white versus others.
But, it's looking possible tonight that Donald Trump has won the popular vote. Are you saying that the majority of Americans are racist?
I'm saying the majority of the Americans will buy into anything as long as they believe that somehow they will have more advantage, they will have more ownership, that they don't have to worry about others who will be equal to them. You can call it what you want, but that's the way it is.
What is the lesson that your party should have learned?
Well, the Democratic Party worked very hard, and they raised, substantial sum of money. We had great candidates, and so Trump had a following, basically generally led by whites. White males voted in big numbers. He had a few from the other race groups that joined in, like the Latinos at 45%, and black men at about the same rate that they did when they voted for him before, at about 20%. That combination won. And so it is not that Democrats did not work hard, did not do a great job. We had an unusual situation where we had a black woman, which this country has never seen before. A combination of all of those things led to his win.
I will not push back on the idea that race and sex matter in American politics. I think they do. I don't know that it was the controlling variable, and you don't suggest otherwise. To me, it seemed to be that the Democrats thought Trump stinks is enough. And Senator Bernie Sanders said something that reminded me of you, which is why I wanted you on the show tonight, Maxine, which is Democratic Party used to be, we are all about doing for working people. That's what we do. That's what Mario Cuomo's party, that's what Maxine Waters' party was. You are now seen as not that, even by Bernie Sanders. Quickly before I let you go, and I appreciate you, you can't tell me what hasn't happened yet, but will you work with Donald Trump and his party, or are you going to work on ways to investigate him?
Well, Donald Trump is whom he is. He is a liar. He is someone who has abandoned his own party. This is a man who is in line with Putin and Kim Jong-un in North Korea. He doesn't give a damn about patriotism. So are you asking me, can I work with him? What can I do to, I guess, not investigate him? He'll only get investigated when he does bad things. He has been investigated. He has been charged, not because someone was out to get him. It is because he performed ungodly things. This is a man who has no moral compass. So what are you asking me? You're asking me to somehow not see all of that, not understand that? That is not possible. He is who he is, and he's going to continue to be whom he is. He said he's going to get retribution from those who have not worked with him, who don't like him. He's out to get people like me, et cetera, et cetera. What should I do? Talk about I love Trump, I want to work with him? I think that he is not someone who can ever be worked with.
Wow. Wow. It is unbelievable to think that a woman like that, who's so unhinged, so hateful, could win re-election in this country, which she just did. And she's basically dust at this point, right? Dusty walls. Okay, that's what I'm about to start calling Maxine Waters. Dusty walls, okay? Yeah, she won re-election. Yeah, there are just some parts of this country that are just, they're just beyond the pale. But, yeah, I mean, Maxine Waters, she can't acknowledge that the Democrats did anything wrong. Kamala lost because of racism and bigotry, right? According to her, okay, according to her. And I think that Chris Cuomo tried to be reasonable with Maxine Waters. But, Maxine Waters is just not a reasonable person, okay? Democrats are basically refusing to actually self-reflect and to ask themselves, honestly, where did we go wrong, okay? This is what they're refusing to do. And you have some people who are on the left, and I would consider Chris Cuomo to actually be on the left, to be honest with you. I don't think that Chris Cuomo is really a moderate. I think that he's center left. But people like him have woken up and realized that the Democrat Party, they are out of control when it comes to the race hustle, when it comes to boohoo, whine, and cry, and bigotry about everything. And they're realizing that, hey, this party can't really be saved as long as these people are refusing to self-reflect. And he's not the only person that I would define as center left, okay, or on the left, that is realizing this, right? Like, for example, Anna Kasparian. She came out and she also criticized the Democrats and the media for boohoo, whine, and crying racism as the main reason why Kamala Harris lost to Trump. Take a look.
Look, later on that episode of The View, Hostin and Alyssa Farah Griffin got into an argument over Hostin blaming white women specifically for voting against their own interests. So let's take a look at that.
Why do you think that uneducated white women voted against their reproductive health freedoms? And why do you think Latino men voted in favor of someone that's going to deport, says he's going to deport the majority of his community.
White women like being called uneducated white women. I think the economy matters, national security matters. But when you put people in these boxes, I think that's a takeaway from this race.
We have to look at the demographics.
Also, I think it's worth noting that, there are some red states that attempted to ban abortion or severely restrict abortion, but the people in those states voted in favor of ballot initiatives to legalize abortion, to reverse the negative impact of the reversal of Roe v. Wade. So saying that people are voting against their best interests kind of doesn't make sense when it comes to the reproductive rights issue, because what was Kamala Harris supposed to do? She was going, let's say she got elected. She would have come into office with a Senate controlled by Republicans. And I don't know, has it already been determined? Have Democrats lost the House?
Yeah, almost certainly.
Okay, so basically a Republican-controlled Congress. How the hell was she supposed to pass or codify reproductive rights on a national level? It wasn't gonna happen, and it wouldn't have happened if Democrats had control of the House or even a slim majority in the Senate. It just wasn't going to happen. She's not going to steamroll the Senate filibuster, which requires 60 votes in order to pass legislation. It wasn't going to happen. So I think what Alyssa Farah Griffin said there, and I never thought I would say this, but she's right. She's right. And I also think there's an issue with the way liberals feel free to just demonize white people in general, right? It turns people off. And if they're constantly told over and over again that they're the enemy, they're everything that's wrong with this country, every bad thing that's happened here is because of, the white European settlers and the white people who were here. If one party is telling them they're the bad guys and they're not wanted and they're the root of every problem in the country, do you think that part of the electorate's gonna vote for you?
Yeah, there's so many different problems in all those statements. So number one, you're misunderstanding why she lost. If you're thinking that she lost, not to say there's no racism or sexism against her, that's absurd. Of course there's some, right? But if you think that's the main reason that she lost, you've misdiagnosed the problem. The main reason she lost is because Democrats don't deliver and they run establishment campaigns and not populist campaigns. And this is so stark because there's only two people in the country among the politicians that have run as populists. One is a fake populist, Donald Trump. One's a real populist, that's Bernie Sanders, right? And both of
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, before I get into Anna Kasparian's take, in which she's clearly correct here, okay, she's on point, I want to talk about Jake, who is an individual that, it's just so funny. He believes that he's smarter than he really is, okay? And I think one of the most obvious signs of intelligence is someone's ability to not only evaluate somebody else's intelligence, but their own intelligence, especially compared to other people's intelligence, right? I think some of the smartest people know that they're not as smart as others, right? And I think some of the dumbest people think that they're smarter than they actually are. Cenk is one of these people who I think is a relatively intelligent person, but he's less intelligent than he actually is, because he doesn't have the ability to realize that he's not really as intelligent as he thinks that he is, right? I hope that actually makes sense, okay? It takes like this are exactly what I'm talking about, because Cenk correctly states that, the race issue, right, is not the main reason why Kamala Harris lost, right? He's correct in that. But he's wrong with his follow-up statement by saying that, the Democrats lost because they're not populist enough. And what the left means by populist, they mean left-wing populism, right? They don't mean cultural populism, which I think is a winning formula. They mean economic populism. Basically what they're saying is that, Democrats, they weren't populist enough when it comes to economic policies, right? AKA they didn't spend more money. They didn't advocate for things like, for example, raising the minimum wage more. And all of these policies that are the reason why this country is in the position that is in right now, right? When it comes to inflation, which is the main issue with the economy. The main issue with the economy is inflation. We have inflation because the Democrats were too populist when it comes to their economic policies. Again, this is my problem with these leftists, the ones that are sane, that is. The ones that are insane, clearly the race hustle, the boohoo, whine and cry, bigotry, the wokeness. Yeah, that's my biggest problem with them. But the ones that are, again, not as woke, my biggest problem with them is that, again, they just don't really understand how the economy works, right? They really think that the solution to every problem is just to spend more money, and that's just not the case. Kamala Harris did a run as a populist, okay? She ran on basically giving people $25,000 to buy a home. She ran on giving them money to start businesses. She ran on price controls. She ran on taxing unrealized capital gains. She ran on tax the rich, right? These are all populist economic policies. So to say that she didn't run as a populist is just incorrect. And again, it's just funny because what he's talking about is not cultural populism. He's talking about economic populism. He's saying that Kamala Harris wasn't far left enough when it comes to economic policies, and that's just not true. It's just not true. And that's what frustrates me about people like Jake, right? He'll get something right, but then in the next sentence, he'll get something completely wrong, right? He will acknowledge that, yes, this is a problem, okay? He will correctly acknowledge it's a problem, but the solution is just totally and completely wrong, right? Just completely detached from reality. So that's what I'm trying to tell you guys, that a lot of these people, again, they're going to move more to the left. They're going to move more to the left because they don't realize that Democrats need to reel in the economic populism and they need to reel in the wokeism, okay? They need to reel in both. That's the problem. They're too far left on economic issues and social issues. Now, when it comes to Anna Kasparian, she's 100% right, okay? And I commend her for continuing to speak out against anti-white racism because she has realized over the years that, hey, this movement on the left to demonize white people and to blame white people for all the country's problems, especially when the left doesn't get their way, is toxic as hell, right? And I think that she has been a victim of this, right? So this is probably part of the reason why she is starting to take the positions that she's taking, because she had to actually experience the consequences of some of the things that these leftists advocate for. So now she's understanding that, hey, this isn't really good for me as a white passing individual, right? This ain't good for me. So I think that's part of the reason why she's speaking out against it. But she's 100% right in her evaluation that Democrats miscalculated when it comes to going all in on abortion and trying to get women to vote in a federal election based off of abortion, because abortion is not a federal issue. It's not. Okay? That is what happened after Roe v. Wade was overturned. And I think after Roe v. Wade was overturned, I think a lot of women were misled by Democrats in regards to the issue. Okay? I think there was a lot of disinformation put out there by Democrats trying to trick women into thinking that they should vote in federal elections based off of abortion. And I think once a lot of women educated themselves after the 2022 midterms, they realized that, hey, you know what? The economy and the abortion are not the same issue. They're two different issues, and that I can vote for what's best for the economy at the federal level, okay, while also at the same time voting to keep abortion at the state level. And once they realized that, it was over, right? And I think Democrats miscalculated by coming out here and basically trying to convince women that this is a federal issue. But I think a lot of women, and probably because they were educated by their husbands, okay, because again, they thought that they were going to have a lot of Republican women, pro-choice Republican women come out here and to vote for Kamala Harris behind their husband's back and all that they were going to lie to their husband. I mean, listen to the type of campaign that Kamala Harris ran, right? She ran a campaign literally on telling women, lie to your husbands, right? That's the type of campaign that she ran. But again, according to individuals like Maxine Waters, she ran a perfect campaign, right? But that wasn't going to work because, let's be real, married women, okay, especially married white women, since they love talking about white women so much, married white women, yeah, I mean, I think that they tend to vote Republican because their husbands educate them on the issues. Their husbands sit them down and they say, hey, let's take our emotions out of it. We got to vote for Trump because we're struggling, right, when it comes to the economy. You can keep your abortions because that's a state issue. If you want to vote for that, that's fine. But we got to vote for Trump. And that's exactly the way that it should be. Okay? Telling women that they need to lie to their husbands, yeah, that was not a good campaign strategy. It just wasn't. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't think women are as dumb as the Democrats think that they are. And they prove that they're not. That, hey, we can separate the issues, right? That the economy and abortion are not the same issue. and that at the end of the day, abortion is just a state issue, and that's it, right? I can still keep my abortions while also voting at the federal level for what's best for the economy. And that's what happened. That's what happened. So, it's just funny how things kind of turned out, right? I think a lot of the strategy for the Democrats end up ultimately backfiring. A lot of the disinformation and misinformation they put out there didn't work. And instead of just acknowledging that we made mistakes, that we ran a bad campaign, no, they're saying Kamala was perfect. She didn't do anything wrong. She's not the problem. You're the problem, right? The American people are the problem. And now it's really funny because Republicans can say with confidence that we are the majority, right? We are the majority of the country. And Democrats are the minority. We won a popular vote. We are the majority. So now Democrats are saying that the majority of the country is sexist, hateful, bigoted, racist, homophobic, xenophobic, whatever, right? This is what they're saying. And they're saying that across race, gender, sexuality. If you didn't vote for Democrats, you're a bigot, right? That's essentially what's happening. And they think that's a winning strategy. If this is what they're going to double and triple down on, be my guest, okay? It's going to be an easy 4 years for me, okay? And the Republicans are going to sweep again in the next midterms and in 2028 if this is what Democrats are going to do. So, hey, I'm loving what's happening right now. Democrats are refusing to change their ways. They're doubling and tripling down on the hate. They're doubling and tripling down on the wokeness, and they refuse to self-evaluate, which is going to lead to more losses, right? It's going to lead to a golden era of Republican and conservative leadership in this country. And that's exactly what we need. So, hey, Democrats, be my guest. Continue to blame racism. Continue to smear everybody who doesn't agree with you. Continue to do that, right? Double and triple down on that. I'm loving it, okay? I really am. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.